Hello, in today's video I'll be replacing the front brake pads on the 2014 Mazda CX-5. And the first thing you want to do while it's on the ground is loosen off half of the lug nut. And now that the lug nuts are loose, you want to lift the vehicle with the jack so you can get the wheel off. And you always want to make sure to use a jack stand as well. And we can now remove the lug nut so we can get the wheel off. And we can now go ahead and pull off the wheel. And we want to use a 14mm socket to remove the two caliper bolts. And once you got the two bolts removed, you can slide out the caliper. I use a strut to hang the brake caliper out of the way. Next we can slide out the brake pads. And once you remove the old brake pads, you want to compare them to the new ones. And you want to make sure that they match all the way around. And now to remove them out of the packaging. And to prepare the brake pad, I like to use disc brake caliper lubricant. But I ran out of it, so I'll be using this little packet from AutoZone. And what I like to do is line them up next to the old brake pads so you can see the contact points. And I like to use those as a reference to where you want to put the brake lubricant. And you also want to add brake lubricant to the brake pad slide points. And next we want to install a brake pad warning tab. This little tab will rub against the rotor and warn you when the brake pads are low. And you want to slide it into the small indentation that it has on the brake pad. And you kind of want to angle it in onto the other side. And this is what it should look like if you got it in properly. And this little piece that sticks out is what warns you when the brake pad is low. And we can now go ahead and slide in the new brake pads. And you want to slide in one edge first and then the other. And you want to do the same with the second brake pad. And next we want to pull out the caliper slide pins and lubricate them as well. You want to make sure not to use too much brake lubricant. If you do, it might make the slide pin difficult to get back in. And you want to make sure that the seal goes in completely. And you want to do the same with the other one. And the next thing you want to do is compress the brake caliper. And you want to use an old brake pad and a disc brake pad spreader. And as you rotate the handle, it compresses the brake caliper piston. And you want to make sure to keep an eye on the reservoir to make sure it does not overfill. Because as you're compressing the brake caliper piston, it sends it back into the reservoir. And we can now go ahead and reinstall the brake caliper. And reinstall the 2 bolts. And you want to tighten them as much as you can by hand. And we can now go ahead and tighten them with the ratchet. And once you got the bolts tightened, you can now go ahead and reinstall the wheel. And again, you want to tighten them as much as you can by hand so you do not damage the threads. But before lowering the vehicle, you want to slung them up with the ratchet. And we can now go ahead and remove the jack stand and lower the vehicle. And the last thing you want to do is torque the wheel to 100 foot-pounds. But before driving the vehicle, you want to pump the pedal a few times. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. Please like and consider subscribing.